Hi everyone, I'm Srimathi Sai Krishnan from TeamLease EdTech. Today, we are going to unveil a very interesting initiative that has been promoted by TeamLease EdTech for the higher educational institutions and various stakeholders belonging to the higher educational institutions. You may wonder as to what it is. Yes, it is called as UGC Compendium. We all know that the higher education ecosystem in India has undergone a great transformation with so many new initiatives and directives that have come over a period of 1.5 years of time. Thanks to the UGC then chairman, Dr. Jagadish, who has really made the transformation from the traditional mode to a transformed higher education ecosystem. So, this has necessitated the various higher educational institutions to really enhance the way of working, to bring in more structured way of functioning an educational institution that would benefit the student community at large. On that note, we have looked upon the various path-breaking initiatives that have been brought in by the University Grants Commission to support the higher educational institutions and bring about a huge transformation in the higher education segment so as to contribute for the nation's objective of gross enrollment ratio getting into 50% by 2035. So this is a humble attempt by TeamLease EdTech to compile the various key directives, guidelines, and the notifications that have been issued by the University Grants Commission during the financial year 24-25. I'm very much sure that it would serve as a very valuable information and will become a quick reference guide to various stakeholders like the higher educational institutions, administrative bodies, students, parents, and various other stakeholders in the education sector. By consolidating the important updates, we believed that this document would definitely aim to enhance the awareness on the regulatory compliances and so also emphasize the various higher educational institutions the need to adhere to it by facilitating a very easy access to important and crucial information. Additionally, we have also added up relevant links for further reference to official UGC directives and guidelines without much of an effort. So the next question would come in your mind, how am I going to access these information if it is in the form of a document? Not to worry. We have set these information into different categories, like made it into different groups by combining them based on the nature and with the relevance of the directive. So we have categorized almost more than 10 such subcategories in this compilation by making it right from admissions and fees or academics, examinations, student engagement, administration, the compliance policy that needs to be adhered to, and then most importantly, the National Education Policy of 2020, the research studies changes that has been brought in, the mandatory disclosures that the HEI should take into consideration, and of course, the transforming apprenticeship, internship, education, getting into the embedded approach of higher education learning. All this with the very interest of taking care of different stakeholders of the higher education system. And I'm very much confident and feel that you all will get immensely benefited out of this compendium. We would like to walk you through the various categories that we have built inside this compendium. To begin with, I would like to highlight a couple of core aspects that was really a redefining moment in the way that higher education has looked upon. So, on the admissions and fees category, the higher educational institutions were allowed to make biannual admissions by the regulatory authority, which was not the case in the traditional mode earlier. This has opened up the vistas to the higher educational institutions to make admissions twice a year, not only in the June-July cycle, but also in the December-Jan cycle. This is going to help n number of students who could not be a part of a particular institution that was in their dreams. And for the institutions, it is going to be a very good utilization of their existing resources. And most importantly, on a collective approach, they all are going to contribute for the rising gross enrollment ratio and make the nation achieve its vision of 2035 dream of getting into 50% GER. So this initiative is really a hallmark initiative that has been brought in the traditional regular admission cycle. Next comes on the fee aspect. The other important aspect which is beneficial to the students under the guidance of UGC is the fee refund policy and the fee nivaran initiatives. Of course, all these have been there earlier too, but why is it so specific in the financial year 24-25 is the impetus that was given with such a kind of a directive which tells that the higher education institutions have to timely process the various refund requests of the students so that their money or the original certificates are not withheld by any of the institutions which would derail their very process of getting admission in any other institutions, not only with HEI, but also for the course of their choice. So this has been made very, very significantly to be adhered to by the institutions, without which the institutions can invite on violation a punitive action from the HEI, which can even go in revoking the licenses that they would get in. So this has become a very, very popular initiative of higher educational institutions among the students, wherein people have started to approach the higher educational body in the e-Samadhan portal, if at all they are held up. And it is a great reprieve to parents who cannot afford their money being blocked for a certain period of time. So this is another initiative that needs a special mention. Along with that, when we talk about biannual admissions, the UGC has also increased the intake capacity for higher educational institutions under the entitled category to have more than 25% as a supernumerary seats. This is to bring in international students. Facilitating international students in the Indian ecosystem of higher education will definitely promote diverse thoughts, peer learning, and more so will contribute to the expanding research aptitude and different perspectives of learning and cultural integration. So this is another important directive that has really expanded the horizon of admissions in terms of strengthening the student base with diversity and with a quality to education. The other important one is about allowing the students to pursue 2 degrees on a simultaneous note. This was never a case earlier. So even the directive mentions that it has to be at the free will of the student. It's not going to be that is being thrusted upon by a higher educational institution to take up the 2nd degree that would align to a particular course of their choice. So it is completely at the free will of the student and as per their choice that they can pursue 2 degrees at the same point in time. Even the restrictions with respect to the mode has been now no more in existence, because as long as the program delivery timing and the scope manages the flexibility for the student can very well pursue and earn the credits. This is indeed path-breaking and would contribute towards very quickly achieving the GER of what we aspire to. Well, into the next segment, academics. The higher educational institutions have been given a free hand now to introduce short-term programs that would enhance the skills and the experiential learning of a student. This would attribute some credits to their learning, which a student can very well earn and also redeem wherever it is needed. This is going to be definitely a very popular initiative because a student doesn't have to confine to the rigid norms of a particular course in their program delivery. When it comes to the interdisciplinary, when it comes to the multidisciplinary subject, a student is going to have umpteen choices to choose from these short-term programs as far as the credits of the course matches to the requirement and to the relevance of their specialization of learning. This applies to both UG and the PG students. Not necessarily it has to confine to these students alone who are already pursuing UG and PG programs. It is also applicable to all the learners who wish to take up short-term learning, irrespective of whether they are pursuing a degree or a postgraduate degree. This is going to be making a huge difference in the way a student would approach the learning, and also in the way that it has to enhance their skills and ability and make them much more employable. And to the institutions, it's going to be a very, very defining moment in the way that they can attract talent, not only from the regular college going students, but also from various professional learners, because the very concept of the short term learning just relates to lifelong learning and not to a particular phase of a study of a student. So, in this manner, the microcredits, the short term courses, are already available on Swayam, many of them. But now, with HEI also taking up the same way of doing, this is going to be a propeller and accelerate the very task of enhancing the gross enrollment ratio and make the education equitable and reach various other nook and corners of the country with the support of technology. The next important change that we all have been hearing upon since the National Education Policy 2020 and being thrusted upon now with its various benefit is the NCRF guidelines. The National Curriculum Credit Framework has brought in a beautiful way of synchronizing the vocational and the regular stream of education, which is going to be the real game changer. All along, there had been multiple formats of education that's happening in the higher education space. But when it comes to a common parlance, it was not the case. The recognition to their learning out of, say, for example, their practical learning or the experiential learning did not come into the picture at all. So different governing bodies, different approving authorities were taking care of that particular segment of learning. Now, the NCRF has brought in a very comprehensive and well explained structure and guidelines wherein a student from any stream, whether it is going to be through a vocational training, through any other ITI training, or through a formal education, all can earn their credits based on their curriculum and the practical learning hours spent along with their experiential learning, so that the very essence of NAP 2020, where we want the students to have a free entry and exit through modular programs, would be well achieved. And it gives a lot more flexibility to the students, a kind of a very empowering ecosystem which would help people to pursue their academic dreams irrespective of the breaks in their careers or the break due to various reasons that they could not afford to pursue their programs, academic programs. This is indeed revolutionary to what we had been seeing in the higher education system in the past 30, 40 years as decades. Well, coming into the student engagement segment, the regulatory bodies have been more viral in terms of making use of various social media to sensitize the students on various initiatives that they have been taking, so that a student makes a very informed choice when it comes to the choice of the institution or to the choice of the program. So this not only has made the people be aware of the changes that's happening in the higher educational ecosystem, but also have helped them to assess the various pros and cons before they make a proper decision. So Deeksha Arambam is an initiative that the Higher Educational Regulatory Authority brought in in the year 2020, of course, with COVID and various other um, impact derailing the process. This did not happen in the way that it is happening now. Such a beautiful initiative of sensitizing the students about what they are going to learn, how their academic journey is going to be, the expectations of the institutions, and what they can dream in terms of what they want to achieve through the choice of the program is what gets encapsulated in the student induction program. Now, this has become a mandate to all the universities whenever they commence with an academic batch. So, the higher education authority does not stop with just giving a directive, making them do it. It has also enforced the institutions to upload the various reports on having done that, along with the pictures and the videos of the student induction program having been conducted on time as the academic commencement of a batch. So that's been monitored in the University Activity Monitoring Portal also. This is a great initiative by the UGC, and it is benefiting the student immensely. A very novel initiative is by bringing a technology platform called as My Bharat Portal. What is this portal going to help the student through? The students are going to be benefited to identify various experiential learning opportunities through these portal. This could include an internship opportunity, or it could be towards a community engagement service. So all these are going to be exhibited through this platform, and the student can very well navigate and figure out his choice of the experiential learning by registering themselves. Even higher educational institutions are asked to register themselves in the Bharat portal so that they would be able to assign various new opportunities that keep coming up for their students, because day end it is the experiential learning that matters and builds a lot of benefit to the students through their confidence, through their team building, understanding, through working as a group for a cause and for a problem or a solution seeking. There are a few directives that comes under the administration segment which really mattered a lot in the way that the higher educational institution can run on a very organized manner, and also for the regulatory authority to monitor the various happenings of the higher educational institution in a very effective way. The very idea of public self-disclosure as a mandatory disclosures also in many cases in the website of the higher educational institutions really help the multiple stakeholders of higher educational institutions. The frequent directive of UGC in monitoring that, and with specific way of updating the various requirements, really helps in the public domain the various information that needs to be known for a particular learner or a prospective learner or for various stakeholders. So the information that's been disclosed on the website should be made easily accessible to everyone was the very motive behind it. And when it is being entrusted as a responsibility with the compliance mandate, it makes a huge lot of a difference. So we see that now happening on a very structured note, and it is benefiting various stakeholders in a big way. The second important aspect from the administration requirement is about the constitution of the Student Grievance Committee. We all know the committees do function at various universities, but then is it effectively functioning? It was the requirement that the regulatory authority wanted to make a mention. So there are SOPs that have been given to the HEIs to ensure that the committees operate on a structured note, and the escalation metrics towards that, so that at no point a student is left with a grievance unresolved, and the very spirit of equity and inclusion in education is taken care of. The next important aspect is about the faculty recruitment overall that we all had seen through a public document that came for multiple views and suggestions too. The recruitment of faculty as a process was made more transparent, with a lot more clarity on the eligibility conditions of the faculty, teaching faculty appointments. So here there is a bit of a flexibility also given to the higher educational institutions so that they don't look for in the name of qualified faculty and leave the positions vacant for a long time, which indirectly and directly affects the students' learning process. So the research aptitude of a learner, along with their qualification and the diversity that they bring through their educational teaching and experience, along with their entrepreneurial bent of mind, all have to be now taken into consideration to choose the right talent for an educational institution. This flexibility and freedom that has been given to the institutions will help them to get not only the right talent, but also fill in all the vacant positions and ensure a seamless academic delivery. Most importantly, the potential candidate can be chosen even from various disciplines provided they contribute to the research and diverse experience that is meant for the program and for the subject they teach is really path-breaking. The next important guideline that the higher educational authority have floated upon to various institutions in the form of a handbook is about building their cyber security. This awareness, along with the set of a procedure to ensure safety to a academic ecosystem, especially in a technology driven world, is very, very crucial, and the proactive approach taken by the UGC has been highly lauded by all the stakeholders. On the assessments and the examination segment, couple of significant initiatives from the higher education regulatory body mattered much. The most important of it is the timely conduct of the examinations and the issuance of the academic awards to the students from the higher educational institutions. With COVID, there was a setback when it comes to the alignment of the academic calendar, but there are still various institutions that carried that delay, and it was deeply hurting the students' academic progression and employment opportunities as well. So UGC has made it now mandatory that once the results are declared, within 180 days of the issuance of the results, a student should necessarily get their degree certificates, academic award of degrees in place so that at no point they are missed of any opportunity with respect to their employment or higher enhanced learning. Again, this has been given on a compliance note with a directive that failure to do so will invite strong action from the regulatory authority. So this is going to, again, align the many of the universities who have been delaying for various reasons, whether it with respect to the conduct of examination or with the results being declared, to fall in line and be aligned to an academic calendar. The next another initiative is about the Swayam courses examinations. We all know Swayam offers a lot of engaging and very interesting job-oriented programs, but the limitation that the students were experiencing is when it comes to the examinations. There would be a defined, even if it is a computer-based test, they have to go to a center to take up that test. So when the microcredits were assigned to some of their own existing subjects, they were unable to move to a different place, spend money, travel, and then take up the examinations. So now the path break has come over here where the higher educational institutions have been given the autonomy to conduct the examinations for their own students who are taking up Swayam courses. In this way, the higher educational authority have decentralized the autonomy to conduct the examinations as a computer-based examination or hybrid mode and evaluate even with their own faculty members if they are available, and then the certificate alone would be issued by Swayam. So this is again going to enhance the learning journey in a much more swifter mode and contributing indirectly to the GER requirement of the nation. The another important directive that has come something on the admissions related assessment is about the entrance examination. So we all know that the National Testing Agency is the pioneer body which conducts the examination for the PG programs. Now the Higher Educational Authority is trying to bring a uniform standard structure even for the undergraduate program by bringing out a common university entrance test, and all educational institutions have been advised to make use of that. This is going to standardize the way that the admission process can happen across the country and with lot more flexibility and transparency. A very interesting initiative from the regulatory authority with respect to compliance is the introduction of DEB ID. The DEB ID was made mandatory to all higher educational institutions, which would be unique and bring about a lot of transparency in the admission process, necessitating the higher educational institutions to align to the admission cycle mandates, including the timeline, and also ensuring that there is no duplication of a student in their academic and the various other records. So the DEP ID portal has been now integrated to various higher educational institutions' ERP system, and because of this, the admission data for every cycle would get smoothly and automatically integrated through an API. This has been now made mandatory from the last admission cycle, and it is going very much smooth, which is indeed a path-breaking initiative connecting various higher educational institutions across the country and removing the manual work which is prone to errors and various other complications. The next important directive is about the timely upload of credits in the APAR, the Automated Permanent Academic Account Registry, which would become a unique identifier, the credit repository, and it would map to the student's APAR account. This is going to be essential to facilitate the accumulation of the credit, the mapping of the credits, transfer of the credits, and even the redemption of the credits. This is going to help the higher educational institutions to map the students and ensure their credit earned understanding being made automatic. So HEIs were given time to complete the entire process of the past 3 years also within December 31/12, and all have been aligned to this automated process. So there had been a real impact in the way that it is being seen for the further free mobility and with the entry and exit for the students towards NEP 2020 approach. The APAR ID is also going to help the learners to have the facility of getting recognized to their prior learning, which is very much crucial for people who would take up a break and then want to pursue their learning, can encash those credits and get into the stream of their choice or the program of learning. So this is indeed, again, coming up with the concept of lifelong learning and creditizing all kinds of learning, whether it is formal or informal, into a structured note and making it more standardized so that at any given point, the authentication to the earned credits is going to be made accessible by the higher educational authority and by the student and by the regulatory authority, which is indeed a very, very empowering initiative for the students to pursue their learning on their self-pace and with flexibility and affordability. The next we are going to see about a grand initiative and a compelling initiative that the regulatory authority has brought in. This is about apprenticeship, internship, and work-linked experiential learning to the students. The pertinent issue that has been looming the higher education ecosystem is that The students that are graduating or coming out of the colleges and the universities are not fully employable due to the skill gap that the industry requires for. This has been a perennial problem, and various initiatives, even though was taken, did not matter the way that it has to be because of the reason it was left to the choice of the student post their learning. So now UGC has brought in as a mandatory addition of experience through apprenticeship, internship, and work based learning in their curriculum. In fact, the NCRF has added to this impetus by giving the flexibility to the higher educational institutions to bring in skill based, experiential, project based, field based, community engagement based studies to as much as 50% of the program credits so that a student, along with their academic learning, will evolve into a holistic personality along with the employability skills and soft skills and get noticed in the market and be, with the help of technology, become more relevant to the various evolving jobs in the job market. This is indeed a very much beneficial initiative that the government has brought in along with their Skill India initiative. The students of the regular, the distance education and the online mode all will stand to get benefited because of these programs. In line with that, the government has introduced and launched the NATS 2.0 portal, which is going to help and expand the apprenticeship opportunities for the students so that they learn the relevant skills and the experience through the on-the-job training and get employed. And the nation's problem of unemployment gets addressed very soon. The next highlight, I would like to bring it from the segment of regulatory approval that we have factored in our compendium. In our next segment on regulatory approvals, I would like to highlight on the most important transformation that has come with the help of technology in order to ensure a free, transparent, and checks-driven mechanism for a higher educational institutions to apply and earn their approval from the regulatory authority. I'm talking about the Center for Distance and Online Education approval that a higher educational institution can get from the regulatory authority. The process is so seamlessly driven, put into multiple phases, and it is all on a self-navigate note and with the respective documents and the eligibility conditions being satisfied and with various tech enablers and facilitators that's required for running an online program being in place, an institution would get into their approval with due recommendation of the expert committees. The entire process has been made so seamless and automated with the help of technology, and this has really enthused a lot of higher educational institutions to expand their horizon and aim to run the programs through their distance and online education. Most importantly, the education, without losing its quality, is being taken to the nook and corner of the country, including the rural areas, and the digital divide is going to be well bridged and obviously would contribute to the very mission of our GER increase. The other important directive on this regulatory approval is obviously from the other approval authority, the AICTE, for various technical and management programs. Even though it has been in place, it has become mandatory for institutions of deemed to be status and the standalone institutions to take it from the AICTE before applying for the online or the distance education mode under the UGC. And this NOC, or the expression of interest, becomes critical for them to be accepted by the UGC to process further their applications. Most importantly, even the short-term programs offered by these institutions should also have the AICTE approval, has been the latest mandate asking them to apply when it is coming to the certificate, diploma, or the postgraduate programs as well. The NEP 2020 has redefined the higher education, and the landscape that we see is going to be extremely positive and progressive. On that note, the NEP 20 major highlight that has been brought in is with a 4-year degree program. So with various modular program that could be made available with free mobility of entry and exit, the 4-year degree program has brought in the research aptitude in the upgraded 4th-year version. That applies not only to the new admitted batches, but also is applicable to the existing program students who, if they meet the requirements after their 3rd year completion, can take up a 4th degree as an honors program. The honors program carries the research component as well, along with the dissertation, which is bringing about a very different approach to the undergraduate program study, learning, experience, and delivery by the institution. So this research aptitude can help the learner to take up either the higher learning of the postgrad in the 2nd year straight away, or they can even think about doing their doctorate of PhD program as well. It saves a year too for them to apply for, from the conventional aspect of how we've had it as 10 plus 2 plus 3 plus 2 to pursue your doctoral program. UGC has brought in NEP 2020 to reform the higher education landscape in such a way that it is highly beneficial to the students and makes a redefining impact in the way the learning journey is going to be for the learners, and also enhance their spirit of engagement with various experiential learning and make them employable to various opportunities. The students with the 4th year of honors with research experience are now having the free navigation and entry to a postgraduate 2nd year learning and also to a doctoral program, which otherwise was not the case in the Indian higher education system. The more the rigidity that it was compelled some of the learners to either give up their pursuit of research experience. So this flexibility will enhance the learner's joy in getting into the research study with the way that they can by saving 1 year through a 4-year degree program, provided they qualify the eligibility requirement for it. This is indeed a defining moment, as they definitely have the joy of learning by saving 1 year of time and getting into their passionate study as well. The NEP 2020 has brought in reforms that would redefine the higher education space. UGC has taken several initiatives to deep dive into the various modalities and the standard operating procedures to bring up each of the NEP 2020 guidelines being made operational by the higher educational institutions. So it's not only the directive that can help all these stakeholders to effectively operationalize all of them to the benefit of different stakeholders and the students. So it is very important that higher educational institutions ensures the faculty development program as a strategy on a comprehensive note, understanding the NEP 2020 guidelines, the NCRF guidelines, to make this happen. Along with that, it needs an inclusive and active participation of the in-campus peer agents as the student, which is being now advocated as NEP Sarathis, very actively chosen amongst the students so that they spread the message to the inside of the campuses and ensure that the NEP's positive initiatives get adopted and the students are enjoying the benefits out of it. Enhancing the research aptitude of the learners, had also established PhD excellence citation in order to honor the top exemplary research work which has been assessed on the creation and exploration of a new knowledge which is going to be vital to a country like India. The guidelines have been issued towards that, and HEIs can nominate 5 research work theses every year from each of the discipline, and this is going to help the HEIs to bring into a competitive space, and also the research oriented high quality work gets recognized in a national platform. So this is really a very exciting opportunity for various research scholars so as to bring in their best foot forward and ensure the best of the outstanding work gets recognized in the national platform. Who knows, it can be a solution provider to a very big social problem too through that research findings and solutions. TeamLease EdTech as an organization have been working in this higher education space as a technology service provider and carries a very important mission of making India employable. The sense and the purpose that the company carries towards educating the youth of the country is to make them employable and progress and flourish in their careers. So, with that sincere mandate, this initiative is a small initiative so as to help various stakeholders of higher education to understand the significance of these regulations, directives, instructions that come from the regulatory authority, so that we also play a very responsible role, in no way go beyond the compliance requirements, and at the same time sensitize the students, the parents, and all of them through the higher educational institutions to ensure that their decisions are informed decisions, and that leads only to success. And we are here to support such cause towards making education a quality education, making use of technology to reach the masses so that we, in one way or the other, contribute towards the increase in the gross enrollment ratio mission of the nation and help various learners in the biggest extent possible so as to make India employable. Thank you.